Welcome to hour number 2 on a Thursday on Hashtag Daily K with your host, Peter Bint. How much do you know about K-food? How much hanshik have you eaten?
We invite you into the world of Korean food, of course, including the history and culture of it. We'll introduce trendy foods and famous restaurants on
Dish of the Day
with Chef Ryan.
It is a Thursday, so from hot and trendy Korean foods to seasonal ones to ones that have been around maybe for time immemorial, today's dish doesn't seem like it's too cool and trendy. We got Chef Ryan in the studio, and it is feeling a lot like Christmas to me. Maybe it's because I've worn this Christmassy sweater.
You are very Christmassy today.
My first one of the winter season this time around. And Ryan also got a card from Lynn.
This is awesome. A partridge in a pear tree.
Oh, that's so cool. I got 10 leaping lords on mine, and she makes these herself.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
How cool is that, right?
Well, thank you so much. Oh, man. I went to this restaurant in the countryside, and that's what's made me have to make this topic today about the gondere, or the Korean thistle. Mm-hmm. I swear this restaurant out in the middle of nowhere is packed on a Tuesday for lunch.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You went there knowing about it? Or?
Yeah, I discovered it, and I maybe mentioned it to you a long time ago. We haven't talked about this ever on the show in years and years, because it's not super common. But out in the countryside, out where they make traditional Korean charcoal from oak, I was going out there to get charcoal a couple of years ago, and I saw this full parking lot in the middle of nowhere on like a Monday or Tuesday lunch. And I was like, oh, I got to check this out.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even sure what it was when I was reading the menu. I had to look it up. And it's the Korean thistle. It's temple food.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, this restaurant deserves a Michelin star.
Oh, wow.
No kidding.
Really?
It really does. But they're just flying below the radar out there and happy doing what they do.
Wow.
And when you say temple food, people might first think it's really plain.
Yeah,
but
bland.
This is how about we change the word plain to subtle? And wow, just mind blowing. Every time I go, I'm just amazed by what they're doing.
They're taking real care in the kitchen, you can tell.
You can feel like everything you're eating is grown right there.
Wow.
Locally, or just they took a lot of care in sourcing quality ingredients. Everything is definitely made from scratch.
Yeah. You can really feel that in the dish.
And this we'll talk about it today more, and you can make this. This is available all over the world. And you could make this simple dish and see what we're talking about.
And just one final question on that best restaurant then, hashtag Trego. How much are we talking for this meal? Not a lot, right?
$15, man.
Yeah.
For the jongshik. If you just want the Gondeure-Bap, which is the Korean thistle rice, which is our main topic today, then it's only like manwon or money.
Wow, maybe like $8, something like that.
Exactly.
It's unbelievable. Yeah, and when, you know me, Ryan, I'm a fussy little boy, and whenever I had temple food in the past, I'd be like, no way, I don't want that.
What did you have for the temple? Was it gondere or?
My image of temple food, so this is how fussy I was, I just hear something and be like, no, I'm not even trying it, no thank you, that's not for me, especially if I'm going out for a meal. I don't want to go and buy temple food, was my thinking before, right?
True.
Now I've had it a few times, and I got to do this really amazing broadcast with Chongwan Sunim, who's on the flicks actually for Chef's Table, like one really famous chef from, I believe, Canada, found her, discovered her.
Right. I've seen this. Yeah.
And like you said, the thing that she does is source all her ingredients mostly from her garden, right? Out on a temple.
Right.
And then she's a bit kind of forward thinking as well. She had like some temple food sandwiches, like with some tofu that had been fermented, almost tasted like cheese. It was amazing. And I was like, Okay, I got to get rid of that kind of misconception.
Absolutely,
right?
man. And it coincides a lot with what I love to do, and it's grow and make things from what you grow, healthy, good food.
We've got Rosa Kim on board, one of our Korean listeners, saying gondere can also mean to be wasted or dead drunk. I did not know that slang as well. That's really kind of sounds like that in a way, depending on the way you say it. gondere mandere is apparently the expression our producer says. You learn something new every day. And I learned that for the first time today. You say it's called Korean thistle?
Yeah. Or if you're searching for it online, you can spell it Gondre.
Okay.
And then put rice after that, or bap, and different things will come up that can help you. Things that we're going to talk about today that can help you make this dish at home.
Okay, so we got a photo of it. When I hear the word thistle, in England we think of Scotland. That's like their national flower, I believe, the thistle, and it's proper spiky. And there's no way.
Doesn't look very edible.
There's no way you would eat that, right? I don't know how you would eat it. So this is the Korean thistle. I must say, I don't think I've seen this. Well, I've never tried to look for it, I suppose, in the wild. But this grows in Korea just naturally.
In the mountains.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. And it's not the flower, it's the leaves and the stems. And I guess mainly the leaves are the best part. But if you tried to eat it raw, you probably wouldn't like it. And if it's just dried, you really won't like it because it's pretty tough. So this gets, treated. You normally buy it and it's dried, or maybe frozen, and then you soak it overnight if it's dried, or at least 5 or 6 hours, and then boil it for about 30 minutes, and then it gets nice and tender, and there's an aroma that comes from it that's akin to like an oolong tea maybe, or very just temple. I can't stress enough how good this restaurant was, and just inspired me to want to talk about this today.
Can you have it as a tea? Is that a normal thing?
There is a tea. I've never tried it.
No, because you hear it most often, definitely like Gondeure-Bap, right? The rice.
I think because it does have protein, which the monks are not really. They might have some dairy, the Korean monks, but not meat.
Sure.
So it also has a lot of vitamin A. Beta carotene.
We've got a picture. I think this is of it dry. Is
correct?
So this is
again,
how you
looks
might
a little
buy
scary.
it. It doesn't look like the thing you're gonna say. I really want to eat that today. But we've got a few things like this that we talked about on the show from time to time. Dried leaves from a certain vegetable, and then you kind of reconstitute them in the water, and then the taste or the texture can be fabulous, right?
Well, this has even made it into big box stores around the world.
Oh, wow.
I think it might be on the verge of becoming another, the next superfood. Because, if those big box stores start selling it in bulk, all over the globe, and it's coming from Korea, then sure enough, it must be catching on. Because, again, the health benefits, there's also, apparently there's a flavonoid in it that fights cancer and diabetes.
Wow.
Balances blood sugar. It really, you just feel so healthy when you have this.
Yeah, you don't feel guilty after this at all, do you? We're going to talk all about Gondeure-Bap and gondere, in particular Korean thistle.
Welcome to Arirang Radio.
If you are in Jeju,
88.7 in Jeju City.
88.1 in Seogwipo City.
101.9 in the Daejeong area.
Arirang Radio.
We're back for part 2, Dish of the Day with Chef Ryan in the studio talking about gondere and Gondeure-Bap, which is the Korean thistle and Korean thistle rice. We've got many of you recognizing thistle in some way, shape or form. Sherry saying, we've got a purple one like that in the States. Might be the one from Scotland that we have, which is much bigger, I would say, than the photo that you showed us earlier, and much spikier, and I'm sure much less edible. Marilyn also says milk thistle. Had that to help breastfeeding. And I've heard milk thistle is good for the liver as well.
That's
so
right. That's right. Sometimes
try
I'll
it.
take milk thistle, liver and kidneys. Yeah.
Yeah, especially when you're like heavy on the drinking in that kind of sense. You should take some supplements.
Right. I tried to grow milk thistle and I couldn't get the seeds to sprout. But yeah, and the Korean one, it does look like the flower is smaller. I wish I need to go look in the mountains in the right time of year and see if I can find it, because it's got to stand out if the flower's popping, right?
Yeah, if it's that purple, right?
I bet you it gets harvested before the flower, because when a lot of plants, a lot of herbs especially, when they bolt or when that flower comes up, then the leaves, shrink in size. And if you're wanting good leaves and stems, then you want to grab it before the flower comes.
You've not contemplated growing that on the farm, Gondeure?
Well, I think, if you want the really good stuff, it's supposed to come from the mountains, right? It's natural environment.
Yeah.
And I really want to become friends with these folks in this restaurant out in Jincheon and get to know their secrets, because it really was just mind-blowing. We've talked about Gondeure-Bap, the rice that's pressure cooked in a stone pot.
Yeah.
Or sometimes it'll be an iron thing with a pressure lid. And it comes out to your table, and you take this wooden cover off of it, and there's the gondere right on top of the rice.
Oh, it's not all mixed in?
No, you mix it in yourself.
Oh, wow.
But you scoop everything out into another bowl, and then you pour water into that really hot stone pot, and then put the wood cover back on and let it sit to the side. That's your dessert, but your nurungji. For after your meal, you have the scorched rice kind of soup.
Oh, that's.
And I've grown to love that, even though the first time I had it, I was like, what is this about?
Yeah, why am I eating this at the end of the meal again?
Rice water. but I've grown to love it because of the subtle flavors there.
There's something comforting about it, isn't it? Yeah. Tropical says, the national flower of Scotland, the thistle. I wouldn't have been brave enough to pick one of those and boil them. I wonder if those species might be edible or not. I guess, in Korea, we do eat a lot of things that maybe in the West you would not touch with a barge pole.
I remember an old movie. When I was a kid, I saw this movie, and one of the boys in the story was terminally ill. And his friend, they were trying to find a cure.
Okay.
And so they kept trying all these plants, and they eventually got to some thistle.
Oh.
And they're like, I don't want to try that one. And so they put it off. And then towards the end, that was the last plant they had to try, and they tried it, and it made him more sick.
Oh, no.
So
what kind of movie is that?
Well, no, eventually, I think he did. Was that Radio Flyer? Was that movie? Somebody help me out. I think it was a really, really good kid movie.
Wow.
Beautiful story. But because he's trying to find a cure for his friend. But that stuck in my mind. So I don't go eating random milk thistle, boys and girls.
No, you got to treat it well. You got a couple of messages?
Steve says, "Is there an herb like milk? Is it an herb like milk thistle?" And yes, it's very similar. And I've tried to grow that one. I want to, but then you don't know the potency. So yeah, it is strictly a Korean milk or Korean thistle. So you got to get it from us, guys.
Is this the only place where it's kind of sourced?
Apparently, yeah. Tigris Eeyore says, we have similar flowers here. I have heard of thistle teas, but not food thistle is also used in shampoos. What? In shampoo?
Oh,
That's cool.
I hope not the spiky bits. Obviously, just the essence or something like
it's
that.
exfoliating.
It's cleaning your scalp, yeah. Back to milk thistle then. Not milk thistle, sorry, gondere, this Korean thistle. So the monks eat it. It's temple food famously. And I think we've mentioned this before, but just a recap for many of our listeners who I'm sure have forgotten. As well as not eating meat, there are certain vegetables that are said to be pungent.
Yeah,
right?
You've heard about this too. It's so funny. So monks will traditionally in Korea will not eat garlic and onions. What else? What are the other ones? Chives. Leeks, right? Which are very common in Korean food, but they abstain from it because it might hinder their ability to meditate.
They're too stimulating and pungent.
and cause flatulence.
Is that part of it?
That's part of
it. Oh, I see.
And if you're meditating and you're feeling gaseous, it can be distracting. I can imagine that.
That makes sense. But then what about sweet potatoes? They're pretty bad, right?
Oh boy, you're
For
right.
flatulence.
Yeah. So they can't eat sweet potatoes either, or maybe only on the day before less meditation.
That's so interesting, isn't it? Wow. And so we do have what it will look like, right? This next photo, Ryan, I have had Gondeure-Bap most as a frozen pre-packed product.
Okay.
I will admit it.
Is it pre-seasoned too?
No, they have a separate little packet of sauce
that
you kind of spray as much or as little on it.
Yeah.
But this is what comes out when you put it in the pan, and you only need to like fry it for about 3-4 minutes from frozen.
Yeah, because it's already been soaked, reconstituted. Yeah.
It's
super
great.
Easy.
Like the taste is really good.
I don't try a lot of stuff from the freezer section, so maybe I'll have to check it out, because I would love to take some of this back to the States and share with family and friends.
Yeah. Obviously, you wouldn't take it back with the rice because that makes it too heavy. But as a kind of healthy-ish, I'm sure it's still relatively healthy, right? You're frying it in a pan with a bit of oil, of course. But on the go, just again, like 4 or 5 minutes and it's done. It's ready. You've got a bowl of rice with condire in it. It's amazing.
Yeah. And this, man... If you just told me that there's 3 ingredients in this thing and it's just amazing, I'd be like, what? But sure enough, it's very unique. Just the aroma of kind of like a fermented tea comes off of it.
I don't know how to describe the taste, because I've often said on the show, I don't like things like gennib and minari and things like that. But gondere, from the very first time I tried it, is not as kind of fragrant and in your face herby like that. It's a bit more subtle, and it's not offensive in any way. So I liked it from the very beginning.
There's definitely the flavor of the perilla oil that is traditionally used there. That's like the toasted wild sesame seeds, or perilla seeds, then made into oil. That's a big part of it. And then there's also a sauce that'll go with it. We'll give you guys a full recipe today too.
A whole recipe on gondere.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. And you're right. It does have to, in my opinion, and in those frozen packs, they give you this little packet of sauce, which later will let you know what's in it and stuff. Yeah. And that, if you don't have it, it still wouldn't be bad.
That's what I was going to say. Like, at the restaurant, they give you this amazing doenjang, or fermented soybean paste. It's so mild and a little sweet. And they also give you the traditional sauce that's served with Gondeure-Bap. And I didn't really use either one of them.
Oh, wow.
It was just so good just by itself. And I want to take some back to the States, because I want to find like the mountain, done by the grandma out in the wilderness, and bring that one back and hopefully get it through customs.
Yeah.
But you guys can get this in any Asian mart. And then, like I said, the big box stores have been carrying them too. So if you've got any of those around you, you might be able to find it there. This
photo, Ryan, that let's get that on the screen. What is this showing? The gondere that's been like re-moisturized?
No, that looks dried to me.
Oh, okay. So that's just maybe how you take it out and then put it on the blankets maybe to dry.
Yeah. So if you buy a bunch of this dried, you're going to have it for a whole year. You can eat this all the time.
It's going to be fine to keep.
Absolutely, yeah.
As long as it's dry.
So you'll just take from the dried state, it doesn't take much. It's kind of like milk in that way, 50 grams is plenty of dried weight for 2 servings.
Yeah. And then you just put it in the water, leave it there for
overnight. Yeah. Let it soak overnight, at least 5 or 6 hours. Let it soak. Then you boil it, and then you squeeze the water out, and you'll get this green water will come off.
That you could drink like tea, as we said.
I suppose so, but you're supposed to wash it. Everybody says you got to wash it because it might have bits of the mountain in it.
Mountain bits in your mouth. We will walk you through the whole recipe. So all you need to do is go to the Asian mart for the Gondeure Korean Thistle, and then you'll be fine. We're back for part 3 of Dish of the Day with Chef Ryan in the studio talking all about Gondeure-Bap, or the delicious temple food that is Korean thistle. And all you need for this menu is the Korean thistle, and then hopefully the other ingredients will be a bit more familiar.
Right. Well, and perilla oil would be great for this one to be traditional. And if you've got the Korean thistle, the perilla oil, and some rice, you're there. You're there. Everything else, I don't really think it's all that necessary.
Okay.
If you want to, it's fun to play with the sauces, and have some different bites.
Yeah.
But don't jump right into that.
Okay.
When you make this dish, first try it with just the perilla oil and maybe a tiny bit of soy stirred in with the thistle and the rice.
Yeah, that should be enough if you want it
really
basic,
is.
right? Just a bit of soy sauce. Which, I think we've mentioned it on the show before. Kids will sometimes just put a bit of soy sauce in regular rice just to make it a bit more tasty.
Yeah,
and that's always good.
Yeah, fried rice is always a little easier than just eating plain rice. But God, being in Korea so long, I've grown to love really good rice. You
get fussy about rice the longer you're here.
Yeah, you really do, don't you?
You're like, that rice is rubbish. I don't want to eat that.
Yeah, I went to one of my favorite restaurants and had the dogani tongue last week. The ox knee bone or knee
like
cartilage. Yeah, you hate it.
It's a bit too
love
wobbly.
this, and it's not cheap. It's $21 for the big bowl because there's not a whole lot of cow parts and we're using a special part and not a whole lot of those. And they brought me like day-old rice.
Oh no, you could tell.
And I was like, what?
Oh, yeah, that's not
and then 3 minutes later, ding, the rice cooker's done.
Yeah.
And she's spooning new rice out. So I was just that one extra customer that came in that they weren't planning for. And I thought, surely they'll bring me some more rice.
Yeah.
And it's this sweet old couple that have been running this place together, and they live upstairs for probably 30 years.
Wow.
And I didn't want to call them out,
Sure.
but I just left the rice. I took one bite, and then I just left the rice there. And
Sure, silent
broke my
protest.
heart. Broke my heart.
You're right, in Korea, because rice is our main staple, right? We need it good. We need it perfect. So how are we doing this gondeure rice? We're not cooking the rice like first and separately.
No, sir. No, sir. But you will cook the gondere separately first. So take your gondere, soak it overnight, or at least 5 or 6 hours.
Just in regular cold water.
Cold water.
Okay.
Yeah. Then that's if you're buying the dried version. If you got the frozen one like Peter was talking about, I guess you don't have to do that.
Okay.
But after that's soaked, you might dump out that water, bring water to a boil, then put that the thistle in there. It'll be all kind of stringy and gnarly and tangled. Don't worry about that yet. Just throw it all in the water. Bring it, cover it. Let it boil over medium heat for maybe 30 minutes.
Okay.
Then you can dump that just like you're making spaghetti. Dump that into a strainer in the sink. Run cold water on it to cool it off, because you need to grab this and squeeze the water out.
Okay. You've reconstituted it, but then you don't want it too wet.
Exactly.
Afterwards. Okay.
Squeeze that water out. Get it on a chopping board and cut it up. It doesn't have to be chopped up into little tiny pieces, but smaller bits, so it's not so tangled anymore. So that you can pick up a bit and eat it without it being all like stringing it. Yeah. And when you're there, then you can start washing your rice. We always wash our rice.
The raw,
Yeah, the raw
grains.
rice three times.
Yep.
Yeah. And if you've got a rice cooker, great. Pressure cooked rice is so much better than not pressure cooked rice. I use just an old school pressure cooker. I don't even use a rice cooker.
Nice.
Or the dolso, if you got the heavy stone lid, that works too. And you get your rice in there, and then you just lay that chopped up, reconstituted gondere or Korean thistle on top of it.
Before you've put in the water to cook it, or
together
with
normally
matter.
you want 1-to-1 water to rice. You could already have the water in there,
Okay.
but I think it's probably better to pour some of it over the top. But you want to keep the gondere or the Korean thistle on top of the rice.
Not all mixed in.
No, you don't mix it in yet. Yeah, and then close it and cook it, and when you open that sucker up, you're gonna get this lovely aroma that is often what Korean folks associate with temple stay or temple cuisine.
Yeah, and that's the photo we showed you earlier with the rice with it all mixed in. And then, like you said, if you want a little bit of the perilla oil, rather than the sesame oil in this case.
Yeah, actually, I apologize, guys. I skipped a step. I got so excited. You wanna mix a little bit of the perilla oil and soy sauce onto the chopped up thistle
before you put it in.
on top
Oh,
of the
really?
rice. Yeah.
Okie dokie. That'll give it an extra bit of flavor as well.
Well, that way, once it's done and you open that cooker or your pressure cooker, and then you can just stir it up and it's ready to eat. Now, most people, maybe I'm too much of a purist, which is debatable, but most people would have a sauce accompanying it.
Yes, with the frozen one, I've got to say, I love the sauce.
Yeah, and it is great, but be sure and try to find a really mild soy sauce for this one. Find something special. And you'll get soy, you'll get definitely some chopped scallions or chives, some red pepper flakes.
Yeah, that surprised me a bit. It wasn't too spicy, but the red pepper flakes in the sauce, for sure.
I really don't think it's necessary, but traditionally in all the recipes you'll find that there's a little bit of gochugaru or red pepper flakes, a little bit of garlic. And then maybe a little bit more toasted sesame oil or perilla oil. Yeah. And that's really all you need.
And then when you're mixing it, mixing in the thistle into the rice, in Korea, a lot of people do that with like chopsticks for bibimbap as well, right?
Yeah.
Instead of the spoon.
Yeah.
It's kind of a little more subtle, and because there's two of them, you can mix it a little better, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to be real Korean,
or the chopsticks in your right hand and the spoon in your left. Unless you're right-handed and really good with your left hand, try it out. See if you can use chopsticks with your left hand. Can you do that?
No, not at all. My chopsticks in my left hand are just falling all over the place. And that's it. That's the Gondeure-Bap, right? And of course, like Ryan said at that restaurant as well, you'll have the 정식, which many people opt for, right? Which will have lots of side dishes then. Mostly at that place, was it like vegetable stuff?
Yes, mostly vegetable stuff. This is often served with a lot of the things you'll find with a bibimbap. So you might find the fennel or the fiddlehead ferns, the gosari. Yeah. Those are braised and then seasoned again with usually some toasted sesame seeds or perilla seeds, a little perilla oil, maybe some radish, spinach. Oh, their spinach was amazing. The flavor just kept coming and coming and coming. We have a special kind of spinach here in Korea, the darker ones with the semi-pointed leaves that grows in the winter, and I love the deep flavor of it.
I often find the way we have spinach here, it doesn't taste too irony.
True.
Like when I have spinach cooked in a Western style, maybe like sauteed or with some garlic and stuff, I really feel my teeth coated in iron in a way. I'm a bit sensitive.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But the Korean side dish spinach, I don't know if it's because it's been prepared and maybe it's been in the fridge for a while, but it tastes fine, like totally lovely. And maybe some kind of cook as well, right? Some kind of soup
grown,
with it.
Yeah. But you don't have to have those other things, but they're lovely too. And then often it's served, Gondeure-Bap will be served with a little bit of kim, but not a seasoned kim, just like a plain one, so that you can wrap up little bites and then maybe spoon a little bit of the sauce on there or a little bit of very mild soybean paste.
And that plain seaweed. Oh, that's perfect. Ryan, that's making us feel super healthy.
So good.
I had way too many donuts over the weekend, so I need to have some Gondeure-Bap. Yes, absolutely. It's that subtle flavour that's still satisfying. Perfect. Have a wonderful week, Ryan, and we'll see you next Thursday.
Absolutely. You too, Peter.
You've been listening to the Thursday segment, Dish of the Day with Chef Ryan on #DailyK.